Question 1. A California Firearm Safety Certificate, FSC, is generally required for which of the following actions? A. Possessing a firearm in your own home. B. Transporting a firearm in a locked container. C. Purchasing or acquiring a handgun, rifle, or shotgun. D. Carrying a concealed firearm with a valid CCW permit. Answer: C. Purchasing or acquiring a handgun, rifle, or shotgun. In California, an FSC is generally required for any person who wishes to purchase or acquire a handgun, rifle, or shotgun. This certificate demonstrates that the individual has passed a written test covering basic firearm safety rules and California-specific gun laws, which is a crucial step for new firearm owners. While you might possess a firearm in your home or transport it safely, the FSC specifically applies to the transaction of obtaining the firearm. Always ensure you have a valid FSC before attempting to acquire a firearm to comply with California law. Question 2. Which of the following conditions definitively defines a firearm as loaded under California law, even if no round is in the chamber? A. A magazine with ammunition is physically next to the firearm but not inserted. B. A magazine containing unexpended cartridges is attached to the firearm. C. Ammunition is stored in the same locked container as the unloaded firearm. D. The firearm's safety is engaged, regardless of ammunition presence. Answer: B. A magazine containing unexpended cartridges is attached to the firearm. Under California law, a firearm is considered loaded if there is an unexpended cartridge or shell in the firing chamber or if ammunition is in a magazine or clip attached to the firearm. 1, 2, 3, 4. This means even if the chamber is empty, having a loaded magazine inserted into a semi-automatic handgun, or a loaded tube magazine on a shotgun, makes the firearm legally loaded. This definition is critical for understanding when carrying a firearm publicly is prohibited, as it emphasizes that a firearm is ready to fire with minimal action if a loaded magazine is connected. Always verify your firearm's status to avoid violating loaded firearm prohibitions. Question 3. A squib load is a dangerous malfunction characterized by A. A complete failure of the primer to ignite the propellant, resulting in no sound or recoil. B. A noticeable delay between the trigger pull and the firearm discharging. C. Insufficient propellant charge causing the projectile to become lodged in the barrel. D. The cartridge case failing to eject after firing, causing a jam. Answer: C. Insufficient propellant charge causing the projectile to become lodged in the barrel. A squib load, also known as a squib round, occurs when a cartridge is fired with an insufficient or absent powder charge, causing the bullet to become stuck in the barrel instead of exiting the muzzle. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This malfunction is extremely dangerous because if a subsequent round is fired into an obstructed barrel, it can lead to catastrophic failure of the firearm and severe injury to the shooter or bystanders. If you ever hear a faint pop or feel significantly less recoil, immediately stop shooting, keep the firearm pointed in a safe direction, and inspect the barrel for an obstruction. Question 4. What is the minimum waiting period for the delivery of a purchased firearm in California, following the submission of the dealer record of sale, DROS, information? A. 24 hours. B. 5 calendar days. C. 10 consecutive 24-hour periods. D. 15 business days. Answer: C. 10 consecutive 24-hour periods. California law mandates a 10-day waiting period, specifically 10 consecutive 24-hour periods, from the date and time the dealer record of sale, DROS, information is submitted to the Department of Justice before a firearm can be released to a purchaser. 10, 11, 12. This waiting period applies to handguns, rifles, and shotguns and is a crucial part of the state's efforts to ensure thorough background checks and provide a cooling-off period for firearm acquisitions. It's important to remember that this is a strict legal requirement for all firearm purchases and transfers through a licensed dealer. Question 5. In California, what is generally required for an adult over 18 who is not otherwise prohibited from possessing a firearm, to transport a handgun in a vehicle? A. The handgun must be openly displayed on the dashboard or passenger seat. B. The handgun must be unloaded and locked in the vehicle's trunk or a separate locked container. C. The handgun may be loaded if secured in a glove compartment. D. A concealed carry weapons, CCW, permit is always required for handgun transportation in a vehicle. Answer: B. The handgun must be unloaded and locked in the vehicle's trunk or a separate locked container. In California, a handgun being transported in a vehicle by an adult over 18 who is not prohibited from possessing a firearm must be unloaded and secured in a locked container, such as the vehicle's trunk. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, this locked container cannot be the glove compartment or utility compartment. This rule is designed to prevent easy access to the firearm during transport, enhancing public safety, and is distinct from carrying a firearm concealed on one's person, which generally requires a CCW permit. Always keep your handgun unloaded and locked away when transporting it in a vehicle. Question 6. California's child access prevention laws generally make a person criminally liable for storing a firearm in a location where they know or reasonably should know a child is likely to gain access, and A. The child simply sees the firearm. B. The child gains access and causes injury, carries it to a public place, or brandishes it. C. The firearm is not unloaded, regardless of child access. D. The child is under the age of 12. Answer: B. The child gains access and causes injury, carries it to a public place, or brandishes it. California's child access prevention laws impose criminal liability on a person who keeps a firearm, loaded or unloaded, in a location under their custody or control where they know or reasonably should know a child is likely to gain access without permission, and the child actually gains access to the firearm and causes death or injury, carries it to a public place, including school, or unlawfully brandishes it. 19, 20, 21, 22. This law emphasizes responsible storage to prevent tragic incidents involving children and firearms. Securely storing your firearms unloaded and locked is paramount to preventing unauthorized access by minors. Question 7. What is the primary purpose of the California Department of Justice, DOJ, roster of certified handguns? A. To list all handguns approved for concealed carry by CCW permit holders. B. To identify handguns that meet specific safety and testing requirements for commercial sale in California. C. To categorize firearms based on their suitability for competitive shooting. D. To track the ownership history of all handguns in the state. Answer: B. To identify handguns that meet specific safety and testing requirements for commercial sale in California. The California Department of Justice, DOJ, roster of certified handguns, often referred to as the roster, lists handguns that have passed specific safety and testing requirements mandated by California law, making them eligible for commercial sale in the state. 23, 24. This roster is a critical component of the Unsafe Handgun Act, which aims to enhance public safety by regulating the types of handguns available for purchase. Handguns not on this roster are generally considered unsafe for commercial sale, with limited exceptions. Question 8. If you experience a hangfire while shooting, the safest immediate action is to A. Immediately open the action to clear the potentially faulty cartridge. B. Quickly recock the hammer and try to fire the round again. C. Keep the firearm pointed in a safe direction and wait for a specified period before taking further action. D. Hand the firearm to another person for inspection. Answer: C. Keep the firearm pointed in a safe direction and wait for a specified period before taking further action. A hangfire is a delay in the ignition of the cartridge after the firing pin has struck the primer. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. If you experience a click but no immediate bang. The safest procedure is to keep the firearm pointed in a safe direction and wait for at least 15 to 30 seconds, or 60 seconds for muzzle loaders, before opening the action. This waiting period allows any delayed ignition to occur safely downrange, preventing potential injury from a round firing while the action is open or the muzzle is pointed unsafely. Always assume a hang fire, not a misfire, to ensure maximum safety. Question 9. Which of the following is not a fundamental rule of firearm safety? A. Treat every firearm as if it were loaded. B. Keep the muzzle pointed in a safe direction. C. Rely solely on the mechanical safety device to prevent accidental discharge. D. Keep your finger off the trigger until your sights are on the target and you are ready to shoot. Answer: C. Rely solely on the mechanical safety device to prevent accidental discharge. While mechanical safety devices are important, relying solely on them is not a fundamental rule of firearm safety. All mechanical devices can fail, and human error is a significant factor in accidental discharges. The fundamental rules emphasize constant vigilance and responsible handling, such as always treating firearms as loaded, keeping the muzzle in a safe direction, being sure of your target and what is beyond it, and keeping your finger off the trigger until ready to shoot. Always combine mechanical safeties with strict adherence to these fundamental rules for true safety. Question 10. According to California law, locked container for transporting a handgun in a vehicle specifically excludes which of the following? A. A locked hard case. B. The vehicle's trunk. C. A locked glove compartment. D. A lockable soft-sided bag. Answer: C. A locked glove compartment. Under California law, when transporting a handgun in a vehicle, locked container is defined as a secure container that is fully enclosed and locked by a padlock, key lock, combination lock, or similar locking device. 13, 14, 15. This definition explicitly includes the trunk of a motor vehicle but specifically excludes the utility or glove compartment, even if they have locks. This distinction is crucial for legal compliance and safe transportation, as it prevents easy access to the firearm from the passenger compartment. Question 11. Under California's unsafe handgun laws, what is a key feature generally required for a new semi-automatic pistol to be added to the roster of certified handguns? A. It must be manufactured by a California-based company. B. It must incorporate microstamping technology, if available and certified by the DOJ. C. It must be chambered in a common caliber such as 9mm or .45 ACP. D. It must have a capacity of no more than 10 rounds. Answer: B. It must incorporate microstamping technology, if available and certified by the DOJ. Commencing January 1, 2010, for all semi-automatic pistols not already on the roster of certified handguns, a key feature generally required for new models to be added is that they must be designed and equipped with microstamping technology. 30. This technology etches a microscopic array of characters onto the firing pin that would imprint on each cartridge case when the firearm is fired, identifying the make, model, and serial number of the pistol. This requirement, along with others like a chamber load indicator and magazine disconnect mechanism for certain pistols, is part of California's stringent unsafe handgun regulations aimed at enhancing public safety. Question 12. Which of the following individuals would generally be prohibited from owning or possessing a firearm under California law? A. A person who has been issued a speeding ticket. B. A person convicted of a misdemeanor assault, even if not involving a firearm, within the last 10 years. C. A person with a valid medical marijuana card. D. A person who has never completed a hunter safety course. Answer: B. A person convicted of a misdemeanor assault, even if not involving a firearm, within the last 10 years. Under California law, a person can be prohibited from owning or possessing firearms due to various convictions, including certain misdemeanors, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, a conviction for a misdemeanor assault, even if it didn't involve a firearm, can result in a 10-year prohibition from possessing firearms. This highlights the state's broad approach to disarming individuals deemed a risk to public safety. Always understand your legal eligibility before attempting to acquire or possess a firearm. Question 13. When purchasing a firearm from a licensed dealer in California, what is the role of the dealer record of sale (DROS) system? A. It registers the firearm directly to the buyer's home address. B. It serves as the system for conducting the mandatory background check and managing the waiting period. C. It is an optional insurance policy for the firearm purchase. D. It provides a waiver for the Firearm Safety Certificate requirement. Answer: B. It serves as the system for conducting the mandatory background check and managing the waiting period. The Dealer Record of Sale (DROS) system is central to firearm transactions in California. It is the official system used by licensed firearms dealers to conduct the mandatory background check on prospective purchasers and to track the 10-day waiting period before a firearm can be released. 10, 11, 12, 36. This process ensures that individuals prohibited from owning firearms do not acquire them and provides a crucial cooling-off period for all firearm purchases. Every firearm purchased through a licensed dealer in California goes through the DROS system. Question 14. What is the minimum age to possess and transport a handgun in California? A. 21 years old. B. 18 years old. C. 16 years old with parental supervision. D. 14 years old with a hunter safety certificate. Answer: B. 18 years old. In California, the minimum age to possess and transport a handgun is generally 18 years old, provided the individual is not otherwise prohibited from possessing a firearm. 37. However, a minor, under 18, typically cannot possess a handgun. This age requirement ensures that individuals are considered adults and legally responsible for their actions when handling firearms, distinguishing between general possession/transport and the age required for purchase. Question 15. If a firearm is not being carried or readily controlled by the owner in their California home, what new secure storage requirement is set to go into effect in 2026? A. It must be stored in a biometric safe. B. It must be disassembled into at least 3 separate parts. C. It must be securely stored, defined as maintained within, locked by, or disabled using a certified firearm safety device or secure gun safe. D. It must be reported to local law enforcement within 24 hours of being left unsecured. Answer: C. It must be securely stored, defined as maintained within, locked by, or disabled using a certified firearm safety device or secure gun safe. Effective January 1, 2026, California Senate Bill 53 will make it a crime to fail to securely store a firearm in a home when it is not being carried or readily controlled by the person or another lawful authorized user. 38, 39, 40. Secure storage is explicitly defined as being maintained within, locked by, or disabled using a certified firearm safety device or secure gun safe. This new law expands upon existing child access prevention laws and emphasizes the importance of secure storage to prevent unintentional firearm injuries and unauthorized access, even in homes without minors or prohibited persons. Question 16. What is the proper procedure for storing ammunition in California, in relation to firearms? A. Ammunition must be stored in the same locked container as the firearm for quick access. B. Ammunition can be stored anywhere, as long as it's out of reach of children. C. Ammunition should ideally be stored in a separate, locked location from firearms. D. There are no specific laws regarding ammunition storage, only firearm storage. Answer: C. Ammunition should ideally be stored in a separate, locked location from firearms. While California law primarily focuses on the secure storage of firearms, the California Attorney General recommends storing firearms unloaded with a state-approved safety device and keeping the weapon in a locked container, and additionally, advises storing guns and ammunition in different locations. 18. This practice adds an extra layer of safety by making it more difficult for unauthorized individuals to load and use a firearm, even if they gain access to one. Separating ammunition from firearms is a best practice for preventing accidental and unauthorized use. Question 17. Which of the following situations generally requires a California Concealed Carry Weapons (CCW) permit? A. Carrying an unloaded handgun in a locked case in your vehicle's trunk. B. Carrying a loaded handgun openly on your person in a public place. C. Carrying a loaded, concealed handgun on your person in public. D. Carrying a rifle or shotgun in a public area while hunting. Answer: C. Carrying a loaded, concealed handgun on your person in public. In California, carrying a loaded, concealed handgun on your person in public generally requires a valid California Concealed Carry Weapons (CCW) permit. 17, 37, 41, 42, 43, openly carrying loaded or unloaded firearms in public is generally prohibited. The CCW permit grants the legal authority to carry a concealed firearm, subject to specific restrictions and conditions determined by the issuing authority. Always confirm the specific requirements and restrictions associated with a CCW permit in your county. Question 18. What distinguishes a misfire from a hangfire? A misfire is when the primer fails to ignite the powder, while a hangfire is a delayed ignition after the primer strike. B. A misfire results in the bullet lodging in the barrel, while a hangfire is a complete failure to fire. C. A misfire is only with revolvers, and a hangfire is only with semi-automatics. D. A misfire can be corrected by immediately racking the slide, while a hangfire cannot. Answer: A. A misfire is when the primer fails to ignite the powder, while a hangfire is a delayed ignition after the primer strike. A misfire occurs when the primer fails to ignite the powder charge, resulting in the cartridge not firing at all, even after the firing pin strikes the primer. 25, 26, 27. In contrast, a hangfire is an unexpected delay between the firing pin striking the primer and the actual ignition of the propellant, meaning the gun fires after a noticeable pause. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, both require immediate and careful attention to safety, but distinguishing between them helps understand the nature of the malfunction. Always treat any failure to fire as a potential hangfire by keeping the muzzle pointed in a safe direction. Question 19. What is a key safety practice when clearing a firearm malfunction, such as a stovepipe or double feed? A. Point the firearm straight up or down for maximum safety. B. Immediately disassemble the firearm to identify the issue. C. Maintain positive muzzle control and keep your finger off the trigger. D. Attempt to force the action closed to clear the obstruction. Answer: C. Maintain positive muzzle control and keep your finger off the trigger. When clearing any firearm malfunction, such as a stovepipe, spent casing caught in the ejection port, or a double feed, two cartridges attempting to load simultaneously, the absolutely critical safety practices are to maintain positive muzzle control in a safe direction and keep your finger completely off the trigger. This ensures that even if the malfunction resolves unexpectedly or an accidental discharge occurs, no one is injured and property damage is minimized. Never sacrifice muzzle control or trigger discipline, even under stress. Question 20. Under California law, a person who has been issued a gun violence restraining order, GVRO, is generally A. Required to attend a firearm safety course within 30 days. B. Prohibited from owning or possessing firearms for a specified period. C. Limited to purchasing only rimfire firearms. D. Required to store their firearms at a licensed shooting range. Answer: B. Prohibited from owning or possessing firearms for a specified period. A person who is subject to a gun violence restraining order, GVRO, is generally prohibited from owning or possessing firearms for a specified period, as determined by the court. 34. GVROs are a legal tool in California designed to temporarily remove firearms from individuals who pose a significant danger to themselves or others. This prohibition is a serious consequence aimed at preventing potential violence. Question 21. Which of the following best describes the safe direction rule for a firearm's muzzle? A. Towards the nearest wall or barrier. B. A direction where an accidental discharge would cause no injury to people and minimal property damage. C. Towards the ground or ceiling, as long as it's away from yourself. D. Pointed at the target, even when not actively shooting. Answer: B. A direction where an accidental discharge would cause no injury to people and minimal property damage. A safe direction for a firearm's muzzle is one where, if the firearm were to accidentally discharge, it would not injure anyone and would cause minimal property damage. This typically means pointing it towards a sturdy backstop, the ground in a safe area, or an empty space where a bullet cannot strike anything vital or ricochet dangerously. Consistently controlling the muzzle in a safe direction is the most important of the basic safety rules because a firearm cannot hit what its muzzle is not pointed at. Question 22. What documentation is considered clear evidence of identity and age when purchasing a firearm through a licensed dealer in California? A. Any valid government-issued photo ID. B. A valid, non-expired California driver's license or identification card. C. A utility bill with your name and address. D. A student ID card from an accredited institution. Answer: B. A valid, non-expired California driver's license or identification card. When purchasing a firearm through a licensed dealer in California, clear evidence of identity and age is specifically defined as a valid, non-expired California driver's license or identification card issued by the Department of Motor Vehicles. 10.12. This is a strict requirement to ensure the buyer's identity and age are verified according to state regulations. If your California ID has federal limits apply, you will also need to provide proof of citizenship. Question 23. What is the definition of constructive possession of a firearm in California? A. Having physical control of a firearm at all times. B. Having control over the firearm, even if it's not on your person, with the intent to control it. C. Lending a firearm to another person for a short period. D. Storing a firearm in a locked safe in your home. Answer: B. Having control over the firearm, even if it's not on your person, with the intent to control it. Constructive possession refers to having control over a firearm, even if it's not physically on your person, with the ability and intent to control it. For example, if a firearm is in your car or your home, and you have access to it and intend to control it, you are considered to be in constructive possession. This concept is important in firearm law as it extends legal responsibility beyond immediate physical contact. Question 24. A California Firearm Safety Certificate, FSC, is valid for a period of A. 1 year. B. 2 years. C. 5 years. D. 10 years. Answer: C. 5 years. A California Firearm Safety Certificate, FSC, is valid for a period of 5 years from the date of issuance. This means that after 5 years, if you wish to purchase or acquire another firearm, you would need to retake the FSC exam and obtain a new certificate. This regular renewal ensures that firearm owners remain current on essential safety principles and California-specific laws. Question 25. If a person moving to California brings firearms into the state, they are generally considered a personal firearm importer and must A. Immediately surrender all firearms to local law enforcement. B. Register all handguns with the California Department of Justice within 30 days. C. Complete and submit a new resident report of firearm ownership, BOF 4010A, within 60 days. D. Obtain a California Concealed Carry Weapons, CCW, permit for all imported firearms. Answer, C. Complete and submit a new resident report of firearm ownership, BOF 4010A, within 60 days. Individuals moving to California with firearms are considered personal firearm importers, and are required by law to complete and submit a new resident report of firearm ownership, BOF 4010A, to the California Department of Justice within 60 days of bringing the firearms into the state. 1643. This requirement ensures that the state has a record of firearms possessed by new residents and helps track firearm ownership within California. Question 26. When handling a firearm, what is the safest practice regarding your finger and the trigger? A. Keep your finger on the trigger, but don't apply pressure until ready to shoot. B. Rest your finger on the frame or slide, outside the trigger guard, until your sights are on the target. C. Only put your finger on the trigger after the firearm has been discharged. D. It doesn't matter where your finger is, as long as the safety is engaged. Answer, B. Rest your finger on the frame or slide, outside the trigger guard, until your sights are on the target. A core principle of firearm safety is to keep your finger off the trigger and outside the trigger guard, resting it along the frame or slide, until your sights are aligned with the target and you have made the conscious decision to shoot. This practice, often called finger off the trigger until ready to fire, prevents accidental discharges caused by startled reactions, loss of balance, or other unintentional movements. Always maintain proper trigger discipline. Question 27. Which of the following is not a characteristic of an unsafe handgun, according to California law for semi-automatic pistols on the roster of certified handguns, as of July 1, 2022? A. Lacks a positive manually operated safety device. B. Does not meet firing or drop safety requirements. C. Lacks a loaded chamber indicator for centerfire pistols. D. Is made of a polymer frame. Answer, D. Is made of a polymer frame. Under California's unsafe handgun laws, the material of the frame, e.g., polymer, is not a factor that defines a handgun as unsafe for commercial sale. Instead, unsafe handguns are characterized by not meeting specific safety standards, such as lacking a positive manually operated safety device, failing firing or drop safety requirements, or, for certain pistols, lacking a loaded chamber indicator or a magazine disconnect mechanism. 24, 30, 44, 45. The focus is on safety features and performance, not construction materials. Question 28. What is the maximum magazine capacity generally allowed for firearms in California, with certain legal exceptions? A. 5 rounds. B. 7 rounds. C. 10 rounds. D. 15 rounds. Answer, C. 10 rounds. With certain legal exceptions, California law generally prohibits the acquisition, manufacture, or transfer of large-capacity magazines, defined as those capable of holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition. This restriction applies to most firearms, although there have been legal challenges and evolving interpretations. It's crucial for firearm owners to be aware of and comply with the state's magazine capacity laws. Question 29. When transporting a rifle or shotgun in a vehicle in California, what is generally required? A. It must be openly displayed and unloaded. B. It must be unloaded. C. It must be unloaded and stored in a locked container. D. It requires a special transportation permit. Answer, B. It must be unloaded. In California, non-concealable firearms such as rifles and shotguns must generally be unloaded while being transported in a vehicle. 13, 16. Unlike handguns, rifles and shotguns are not generally required to be transported in a locked container, although it is always a recommended safety practice. The primary legal requirement for these types of firearms during transport is that they are not loaded. Question 30. Which of the following best describes the safe zone of fire on a shooting range? A. The entire area of the shooting range, including the parking lot. B. The designated area where bullets can safely impact without ricocheting or causing harm. C. Only the area directly in front of the shooter's lane, regardless of others. D. Any area where there are no other shooters present. Answer. B. The designated area where bullets can safely impact without ricocheting or causing harm. The safe zone of fire on a shooting range refers to the specific, designated area where bullets can safely impact the backstop or target without posing a risk of ricochet, overpenetration, or causing harm to anyone downrange or in adjacent areas. This zone is established by range officers and safety protocols to ensure that all shots fired remain within a controlled and safe environment. Always be aware of and respect the established safe zone of fire at any shooting range. Question 31. What is the typical minimum age to legally purchase a handgun from a licensed dealer in California, with some limited exceptions? A. 18 years old. B. 21 years old. C. 25 years old. D. 30 years old. Answer. B. 21 years old. In California, a person must generally be at least 21 years of age to legally purchase a handgun from a licensed dealer, with some limited exceptions such as for law enforcement or military personnel. This age requirement is higher than the federal minimum for handguns and is part of California's stringent regulations for firearm sales. Always ensure you meet the age requirements before attempting to purchase a handgun. Question 32. If your Firearm Safety Certificate, FSC, is lost or destroyed, how can you obtain a replacement? A. You must retake the entire FSC exam and pay the full fee again. B. You can request a duplicate certificate from any licensed firearms dealer. C. You must contact the California Department of Justice directly for a replacement. D. A verbal confirmation from the issuing instructor is sufficient. Answer. B. You can request a duplicate certificate from any licensed firearms dealer. If your Firearm Safety Certificate, FSC, is lost or destroyed, you can obtain a replacement by requesting a duplicate certificate from any licensed firearms dealer. They can verify your previous certification through the Department of Justice system and issue a new card, usually for a small fee. This process is much simpler than retaking the entire exam, ensuring you can quickly restore your eligibility for firearm transactions. Question 33. Which of the following best describes the concept of know your target and what is beyond it? A. Only shoot at paper targets at a designated range. B. Be aware of who is immediately next to your target. C. Positively identify your target and be certain that your shot will not endanger anything or anyone beyond it. D. Memorize the specific dimensions of your target before shooting. Answer. C. Positively identify your target and be certain that your shot will not endanger anything or anyone beyond it. Know your target and what is beyond it is a critical firearms safety rule, meaning you must positively identify what you intend to shoot and, equally important, be absolutely certain that your bullet will not strike or harm anything or anyone situated behind or around your intended target. This requires considering the entire path of the bullet and potential overpenetration. For example, in a hunting scenario, you need to ensure no other animals, people, or structures are in your bullet's path. This rule protects against collateral damage and tragic accidents. Question 34. Under California law, when can a private party transfer of a firearm generally occur without going through a licensed dealer? A. Never. All private party firearm transfers must go through a licensed dealer. B. Between immediate family members, parent-child, grandparent-grandchild, for long guns only. C. Between spouses for any type of firearm. D. If both parties possess a valid concealed carry weapons, CCW, permit. Answer: A. Never. All private party firearm transfers must go through a licensed dealer. In California, with very limited exceptions, such as certain intrafamilial transfers of long guns, or transfers to, from law enforcement, virtually all private party firearm transfers, including those between family members, even spouses, for most firearms, must be processed through a licensed firearms dealer, FFL. 10.11.46. This requirement ensures that a background check is conducted on the recipient, and the transaction is legally recorded through the dealer record of sale, DROS. System. Attempting to bypass a licensed dealer for a private transfer is a violation of California law. Question 35. When cleaning a firearm, what is the most important safety rule to follow? A. Only use cleaning solvents specifically designed for firearms. B. Ensure the firearm is unloaded, the action is open, and the muzzle is pointed in a safe direction. C. Wear safety glasses and gloves to protect against chemicals. D. Disassemble the firearm completely before beginning to clean. Answer: B. Ensure the firearm is unloaded, the action is open, and the muzzle is pointed in a safe direction. The most important safety rule when cleaning a firearm is to first and foremost ensure it is completely unloaded, verify the chamber is empty, and keep the action open to prevent it from being loaded inadvertently. Additionally, always keep the muzzle pointed in a safe direction throughout the cleaning process. This eliminates the possibility of an accidental discharge while the firearm is being handled and ensures that if one were to occur, no harm would come to anyone. Question 36. Which of the following is a key component of a semi-automatic pistol that helps feed cartridges into the chamber? A. The cylinder. B. The magazine. C. The forcing cone. D. The stock. Answer: B. The magazine. In a semi-automatic pistol, the magazine is the spring-loaded container that holds multiple cartridges and feeds them into the chamber after each shot is fired and the action cycles. Unlike a revolver, which uses a rotating cylinder, semi-automatic firearms rely on a removable magazine to supply ammunition. Understanding this component is fundamental to comprehending how semi-automatic firearms function and how to safely load and unload them. Question 37. What is the danger of attempting to fire a cartridge that is the incorrect caliber or gauge for your firearm? A. It will simply not fit into the chamber. B. It may cause a squib load, lodging the bullet in the barrel. C. It can cause catastrophic damage to the firearm and serious injury to the shooter. D. It will only result in reduced accuracy but no damage. Answer: C. It can cause catastrophic damage to the firearm and serious injury to the shooter. Attempting to fire a cartridge that is the incorrect caliber or gauge for your firearm is extremely dangerous and can lead to catastrophic damage to the firearm, as well as severe injury or even death to the shooter or bystanders. For instance, a smaller gauge shotgun shell can drop into a larger gauge barrel and get stuck, leading to an explosive barrel rupture if a correct-sized shell is then fired behind it. Always double-check that your ammunition precisely matches the caliber or gauge stamped on your firearm's barrel. Question 38. When storing a firearm in a home where a prohibited person also resides, California law generally requires: A. The prohibited person must have their own separate gun safe. B. The firearm must be securely stored or readily controlled by the lawful owner. C. The firearm must be registered with local law enforcement. D. No special precautions are needed if the firearm is unloaded. Answer: B. The firearm must be securely stored or readily controlled by the lawful owner. Under California law, it is a misdemeanor for a person to keep a firearm in their residence if they know or have reason to know that another person living at the residence is prohibited from having a firearm, unless the firearm is securely stored or carried/readily controlled by the lawful owner or another lawful authorized user. 19. This law aims to prevent prohibited individuals from accessing firearms in a shared residence, emphasizing the responsibility of the lawful owner to ensure secure storage. Question 39. What does the term action refer to in relation to a firearm? A. The firing mechanism that strikes the primer. B. The part of the firearm that loads, fires, and ejects cartridges. C. The entire stock and grip assembly of the firearm. D. The type of ammunition a firearm uses. Answer: B. The part of the firearm that loads, fires, and ejects cartridges. The action of a firearm refers to the mechanical components responsible for loading, firing, and ejecting cartridges. This includes parts like the bolt, slide, firing pin, and extractor, which work together to cycle ammunition. Understanding the action is crucial for safe handling, loading, unloading, and clearing malfunctions, as it's the primary mechanism through which the firearm operates. Question 40. Which of the following is a common reason for a firearm misfire? A. Excessive lubrication in the barrel. B. A defective or contaminated primer. C. The firearm being too cold. D. A loose grip on the firearm. Answer: B. A defective or contaminated primer. A common reason for a firearm misfire is a defective or contaminated primer. The primer is a small, explosive component in the base of a cartridge that, when struck by the firing pin, ignites the main propellant charge. If the primer is faulty, contaminated, or improperly seated, it may fail to ignite, resulting in a misfire where the gun does not discharge despite the trigger being pulled. Always treat any misfire with caution, following hangfire safety protocols. Question 41. If you are denied a firearm purchase by the California Department of Justice, DOJ, how can you find out the reason for the denial? A. The dealer is legally required to inform you of the reason immediately. B. You must apply for a personal firearms eligibility check, PFEC, from the DOJ. C. You are not entitled to know the reason for the denial. D. You can call the local sheriff's department for clarification. Answer: B. You must apply for a personal firearms eligibility check, PFEC, from the DOJ. If your firearm purchase is denied by the California Department of Justice, DOJ, the dealer typically cannot tell you the specific reason due to privacy laws. To find out the reason for the denial, you must submit a personal firearms eligibility check, PFEC, application to the California Department of Justice. 11. The PFEC process allows individuals to proactively determine their eligibility to own or possess firearms and understand any potential prohibitions before attempting a purchase. Question 42. What is generally prohibited in California regarding the open carry of handguns? A. Openly carrying an unloaded handgun on your person in public. B. Openly carrying a loaded handgun on your person in public. C. Both openly carrying loaded and unloaded handguns on your person in public, with limited exceptions. D. Openly carrying a handgun only while hunting. Answer: C. Both openly carrying loaded and unloaded handguns on your person in public, with limited exceptions. In California, openly carrying both loaded and unloaded handguns on one's person in public is generally prohibited, with very limited exceptions, such as in certain rural counties with populations less than 200,000 for unloaded handguns with a CCWL, or for law enforcement. 17, 37, 43. This comprehensive prohibition aims to restrict visible firearm presence in public spaces throughout most of the state. It's important to understand that carrying openly is generally not permitted without specific legal exemptions. Question 43. When at a shooting range, who has the ultimate authority regarding range safety rules and commands? A. The firearm owner. B. The most experienced shooter present. C. The designated range safety officer, RSO. D. The person who brought the most firearms. Answer: C. The designated range safety officer, RSO. At a shooting range, the designated range safety officer, RSO, has the ultimate authority regarding all range safety rules and commands. The RSO's role is to ensure that all participants adhere to established safety protocols, prevent dangerous situations, and take immediate action if a violation occurs. Their commands, such as cease fire or muzzles down, must be obeyed instantly and without question to maintain a safe environment for everyone. Question 44. What is the primary function of a chamber load indicator on a semi-automatic pistol, as required for new handguns on the California roster? A. To show how many rounds are left in the magazine. B. To visually and/or tactily indicate that a cartridge is present in the chamber. C. To prevent the magazine from being removed when a round is chambered. D. To display the firearm's serial number. Answer: B. To visually and/or tactily indicate that a cartridge is present in the chamber. A chamber load indicator on a semi-automatic pistol is a safety feature designed to visually and/or tactily indicate to the user whether a cartridge is present in the firearm's chamber. 24, 30, 44. This is a crucial safety mechanism, especially for new handguns on the California roster of certified handguns, as it provides an immediate confirmation of the firearm's loaded status without needing to manipulate the slide or action. Always physically and visually confirm the chamber status, even with an indicator, to ensure maximum safety. Question 45. Which of the following is an example of negligence that could lead to criminal charges under California's child access prevention laws? A. A child finds an unloaded firearm in a securely locked safe. B. A parent stores an unloaded firearm with a trigger lock, but a child bypasses it. C. Leaving a loaded firearm unsecured on a nightstand in a home where children reside and they access it. D. A child accesses a firearm while the parent is providing direct, constant supervision. Answer: C. Leaving a loaded firearm unsecured on a nightstand in a home where children reside and they access it. Leaving a loaded firearm unsecured on a nightstand in a home where children reside, and those children subsequently gain access to it, is a clear example of negligent firearm storage that could lead to criminal charges under California's child access prevention laws. 19, 20, 21. These laws hold individuals criminally liable for failing to secure firearms against unauthorized access by minors, especially when such access leads to injury, public display, or brandishing. Responsible storage is about preventing such scenarios. Question 46. What does FFL stand for in the context of firearm sales and transfers? A. Federal Firearms Licensee. B. Firearm Functionality Limited. C. Foreign Firearm Law. D. Field Firing Location. Answer: A. Federal Firearms Licensee. In the context of firearm sales and transfers, FFL stands for Federal Firearms Licensee. An FFL is an individual or company licensed by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, ATF, to engage in the business of manufacturing, importing, or dealing in firearms. In California, all commercial firearm sales and most transfers must go through an FFL to ensure compliance with state and federal background check and waiting period requirements. Question 47. What is a key safety concern if a firearm has a light strike, where the firing pin indentation on the primer is too shallow? A. It indicates the firearm is over-lubricated. B. It may cause a hang fire, where the cartridge eventually fires after a delay. C. It means the ammunition is too old and should be discarded. D. It signifies that the recoil spring is too weak. Answer: B. It may cause a hang fire, where the cartridge eventually fires after a delay. A light strike, where the firing pin indentation on the primer is too shallow, is a key safety concern because it may cause a hang fire. With a light strike, the primer might not ignite immediately or fully, leading to an unpredictable delay before the cartridge actually fires. Because it's impossible to tell if it's a complete misfire or a hang fire, any such failure to fire must be treated as a hang fire, requiring the shooter to keep the firearm pointed in a safe direction for a prolonged period before clearing the malfunction. Question 48. In California, what is the legal definition of possession of a firearm for purposes of criminal liability? A. Only having the firearm physically on your person. B. Having either actual physical control or constructive control over the firearm. C. Merely being in the same house as a firearm. D. Being aware that someone else owns a firearm in the same household. Answer: B. Having either actual physical control or constructive control over the firearm. In California, the legal definition of possession of a firearm for purposes of criminal liability includes both actual physical control, e.g., holding the firearm, and constructive control, e.g., having access to and control over a firearm that is not on your person, such as in your home or vehicle. This broad definition means you don't need to be physically holding a firearm to be considered in possession of it, which has significant implications for laws concerning prohibited persons and safe storage. Question 49. Which of the following best describes the magazine disconnect mechanism required for certain semi-automatic pistols on the California roster? A. A device that prevents the magazine from being inserted unless the slide is open. B. A safety feature that prevents the firearm from firing when the magazine is removed. C. A mechanism that automatically ejects the magazine after the last round is fired. D. A lock that secures the magazine to prevent unauthorized removal. Answer: B. A safety feature that prevents the firearm from firing when the magazine is removed. A magazine disconnect mechanism is a safety feature required for certain semi-automatic pistols on the California roster that prevents the firearm from firing when its magazine is removed, even if a round remains in the chamber. 24:30. This mechanism adds an extra layer of safety by ensuring that the firearm is rendered inoperable when the magazine is not present, reducing the risk of accidental discharge during handling or clearing. Always physically and visually check the chamber to ensure it is empty, even with a magazine disconnect. Question 50. What is the significance of the Safe Handgun roster for consumers wishing to purchase a new handgun from a licensed dealer in California? A. Any handgun on the roster can be purchased without a 10-day waiting period. B. Only handguns listed on this roster are generally available for commercial sale by licensed dealers in California. C. The roster specifies the maximum ammunition capacity for each handgun model. D. It is a list of handguns that are exempt from the Firearm Safety Certificate requirement. Answer: B. Only handguns listed on this roster are generally available for commercial sale by licensed dealers in California. The Safe Handgun roster, officially the roster of certified handguns, is highly significant for consumers in California because, with very limited exceptions, only handgun models listed on this roster are generally available for commercial sale by licensed dealers in the state. 23. This means that if a handgun model is not on the roster, it typically cannot be purchased new from a dealer. The roster ensures that commercially sold handguns meet California's stringent safety and testing standards, impacting consumer choice and accessibility.